I'm delighted today to be joined by Dr. Dorothea Baur. Hi, Dorothea. Thanks for taking the time to join us today.
Thanks for having me, Joe.
Could you start by telling us a little bit about yourself, please?
Yes, sure. So I'm an independent consultant, speaker, and lecturer on ethics, responsibility, and sustainability. And I'm mostly, but not exclusively, focusing on tech and finance. And I'm based in Zurich, Switzerland. My background is rather academic. For a long time, I was in academia. I got my PhD and a subsequent international career as a researcher in business ethics. But about 6 years ago, I left academia to found my own company. And I'm very happy with that decision. I have become a real hands-on ethicist in the meantime, I would say. Well, ethics is like the red thread, and almost any question in life or in business has an ethical dimension. For me, at least, I can see that. And so I'm currently focused also on a lot of sustainability questions, because it's not always just an engineering matter. It's also a lot of questions about values and what is important to you. So, for example, I'm developing a corporate training concept for a bank with almost 1,000 employees, making sure that everyone in that bank understands why sustainability is important for the business, what it means in their daily life at work, but also how the bank's strategy links to the wider social and political and legal picture.
Wow.
And I'm also busy with questions on AI ethics, which is kind of my other strand next to sustainability and ethics.
Wow.
I'm doing a lot of lecturing there on level of continuing education. That is, I'm lecturing to people who are fully embedded in professional lives from different industries. And there it's very much still awareness raising for what ethics means in their daily business when they develop and use AI. Well, I think the two fields like sustainability and AI ethics are kind of linked, because the whole sustainability discussion has directed to focus on all kinds of financial responsibilities of corporations. And it inspires and launches a wider debate about the role of corporations in society. So the times of one-dimensional profit maximization oriented shareholder capitalism are over. We're moving towards stakeholder capitalism. And this is also very much supported, for example, in the tech industry by a younger workforce who has higher expectations towards their employers when it comes to ethics. And, when you look at Silicon Valley, you can see employee protests whenever Google tries to, for example, work with the Department of Defense. So there are kind of different parameters now within which companies operate. And this is true across all these issues like sustainability ethics or AI ethics. Well, I think the most innovative companies are those who really manage to embed ethics in their business model or in their products, and not just let it happen as a side track or as a purely philanthropic exercise. So they, like the most innovative companies, manage to go beyond the law, for sure. And they raise the bar by living high standards, and they raise the bar also for their competitors. So, for example, when Apple changed the default privacy settings on iPhones to do not track, this is a very strong statement, and of course it might not be entirely motivated by ethical considerations, but it has an ethical impact, and it means for their competitors that they also have to do more thinking about how they want to handle privacy for their users. So they're really raising the bar there.
Wow, that's fascinating. Yeah, and I didn't know that about Apple and iPhones. I'm on an Android myself.
I must admit, I'm all over the place with my following. So people I follow come from various industries. They come from academia and from civil society alike. And I try also to make sure that I have spread the ones I follow across the globe to get some diversity. But to really understand also technical issues in AI ethics, for example, I have to leave my personal comfort zone and also dive into the work of, for example, neuroscientists and computer scientists. So I have a very broad range of people I follow.
Wow. Yeah, I can imagine there's some pretty big topics. I imagine there's a lot of academics and a lot of influencers. And so for us, we talk about influencers, but actually there's so many categories of influencers. Influencers is kind of a catch-all category, but you've got topical experts, subject matter experts, key opinion leaders, could be a journalist, could be, there's so many influential people out there.
Well, I think COVID has worked as a huge accelerator for all of my topics. So for both questions regarding sustainability and also questions broadly relating to tech ethics. So with regards to sustainability, from what we know about the origin of the virus, it has put the spotlight on biodiversity. If we think that it comes from, transmitting from animals to people. And in terms of tech, or also specifically AI ethics, like the boom in working from home has forced companies to really strike a balance between trusting their employees and securing productivity. And questions about employee privacy, for example, in home office have become very important. And the same is true also for all kinds of questions of managing the disease in the workplace. How much surveillance can you use as a company to contain COVID within, your offices? And these are really fascinating ethical questions relating to tech or AI specifically, which no one would have thought about 2 years ago.
Yeah, no, that's a really interesting point. And it made me think as well about all the restrictions that companies are having to put on their employees in terms of, social distancing and wearing masks. And yeah, I think that's quite contentious. A lot of people disagree with government rules in those situations. So, yeah.
Yes, I must admit, I am a bit fascinated by blockchain technology and also especially by cryptocurrencies, because cryptocurrencies raise a lot of interesting questions for companies also, not just in the financial industry in general. So on the one hand, they raise questions from an ethical point of view. What is the good that they bring about? What is the bad? And of course, they're also quite challenging, at least some of them, in terms of sustainability. And I'm not shy to expose myself on that topic.
Okay.
And I'm also, of course, very curious to see how Web3 will come about and whether Web3 can really deliver on the promise of giving control back to users, and whether this decentralization is really going to, be here to stay. Well, there are several ways I'm very active on all kinds of platforms, but you can always reach me through my website or through LinkedIn, of course, or if you prefer, you can also find me on Twitter.
Okay, fantastic. That's brilliant. Thank you so much again for taking the time to join us today, Dorothea. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thanks for having me, Joe.